Let's jump right into the Excel tour, and I know what you might be thinking. I've already been in Excel before, I know where everything is, and I get it, but my goal with this is to make sure that you and I are on the same page when it comes to Excel terminology. That way, as we go through the course together, whenever I reference something, you'll know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So we're going to start with the title bar, and that's everything up here in green. We'll go left to right, just covering the most important bits. So to start is autosave over here on the left, and if this Excel file were to be saved in your OneDrive or SharePoint, then you would be able to turn on and off autosave. By turning it on, that means that every change that you make within your Excel workbook, as soon as you make that change, it's going to save back to either your OneDrive or your SharePoint, which is a really, really nice feature, and make sure that you never lose any of your work. But if you don't have this file saved to OneDrive or SharePoint, then you're going to get familiar with what's right next to it, and that is the save icon. We click this often, make sure that we're not losing any of our data, and if you would rather not click on this button, you could also use the keyboard shortcut Control S, and we will talk more about keyboard shortcuts later on. Moving right, we have our quick access toolbar, and that is everything inside these two bars here. By default, you will probably have undo and redo. Undo, clicking that once, will take us back one step, one edit. But if you want to go back multiple edits, then you could use this drop down here and go back multiple edits with just one click instead of having to click that undo button a bunch of times. Now you'll notice that I also have another icon here. This is my spell check button, and I added that in by clicking this drop down here and selecting spelling. So I can select and deselect items from here. So if you see anything here that you feel like you'd use quite often, you could click on it and it would get added to your quick access toolbar, so you have them at your fingertips all the time, no matter where you are in your Excel workbook. Next, we have the Excel file name, and what's important here is the ending. So .xlsx means a standard Excel workbook, and later we will talk about some different endings and what they mean for your data. You may, depending on what version of Excel you have a search bar right here. And if you do, then you can use this to quickly find things within your Excel workbook. Maybe you're looking for somebody's name and you know that name is in your workbook somewhere, but you just can't find it. You could type that name in here and it would allow you to jump straight to whatever cell contains that name or text or number or whatever it is that you look up and search in this bar. Off on the right, we have three very familiar looking icons. This one allows us to minimize our workbook, just take it off the page while we're working on something else. This one allows us to reduce the size of our workbook, and you may use this because you want the workbook on one side of your screen and maybe the course that you're listening to now on the other side of your screen so that you can see both of them at the same time. But if you would rather have this workbook take up the whole page, we'll click that button again and it takes up the full screen once again. And then lastly, after we press save, we can press the X in the upper right hand corner to close our workbook down. Alright, that's our title bar. Next we're going to move on to this area down here, which is our menu bar.